Hi guys, Jay Smith here. Welcome to the AskGolfNut channel. It's going to be an interesting one today. It's going to be a little bit of David versus Goliath. I have got the cheapest set of irons that I can get my hands on from a case of the Cali 01T. I think it's £499 for a set of 4 to pitching wedge, 7 irons for £500. Pretty darn good, against the most expensive irons that I can get my hands on, the Cobra 3DP Tour irons, which are, well, many of these will pay for a set of these. Nearly a set of these will pay for one of these. But you kind of get the idea, not quite, but this is ridiculously expensive. These are very similar from the category that they're in. They're supposed to be the player's distance. This from the 01T is 30 degrees aloft when it comes to 3DP. This is 31. 1 degrees, that is it. They look fairly similar, with the difference you can see with the 3DP is you've got this one being 3D printed. You can see the lattice work in the back of the golf club, which shows straight away how this golf club is made. If you've seen the video for the review that I've done, the full video on this one, it is amazing. This 3D printed head has to be one of, if not the best iron I've ever tested for being able to keep ball speed up across the face. That 100 grams of tungsten in this iron is just crazy. It's a brilliant iron, but really expensive. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when you hit these at 3 different swing speeds, 70, 80 and 90 miles an hour, because obviously we all don't swing at tall speeds. See if there's a gain or a loss, see which one works better or doesn't at 3 different swing speeds. Also, we're going to be doing the heat map testing, hit it all over the face and see which one of these two wins. We'll do the 01T first for a bit of fun and do Goliath in a little while. When it comes to this one, top line, you have a medium top line. This is a little bit kind of squarer to the 3DP's more rounded one, but the sole, I mean, this is a player's distance iron. It looks like a fat blade player's distance iron, very much so to Tacoma. They make their own version, say Ping with the i530. A lot of brands make that solid backed, rather than have an open cavity, a solid black bladed looking player's distance iron. I'm at a hole, as you can see. If I mess this up, I'm in the drink or in the rocks. Either way, I'm not doing good. So I need the full-on carry. It's about 170 or so yards. Again, this being a 30-degree lofted 7-iron should have enough guns to get there. I need around about 180 or so to the middle to back end of the green. Down by the golf ball, it just does look a decent iron. There's nothing about this iron that I don't like the look of. It's quite shiny, and I quite like shiny, not full on chrome, but you kind of get the idea. Let's go give it a hit. Oh, I've pushed it. I mean, it's safe. That's a bit short, but it's safe. A little bit low on the face, a little bit open, but it's safe. And look at that. It's going to go back into the water for itself down the green. Club head speed 90.3 miles an hour. You can see there, club path 2.6 from the inside. My face was 1.3 degrees open. It started right, it carried on going right, because that's pilot error, nothing to do with the golf club. Strike wasn't too bad though, 2 mil toe, 5 mil low, 170 yards of carry, 35 yards in the air, and 48.3 degrees descent angle. It's doing fine apart from me. Now, I could feel the 5 mil low. I didn't quite have the nuanced feeling that I get when you're looking at the really good amount of feedback that you can get from players' irons. Things that are forged, things that are down the complete bladed or player's cavity, you can really get a very good understanding of where you were hitting on the face. It's getting a bit numb. That's what happens sometimes when you have hollow bodied irons. They kind of blur the feeling of where you hit it on the face. Doing absolutely fine. That was pilot error. Let's go give it another go. Well, that's 2 for 2. Not quite as bad, but still a push. Still a bit leaky and a bit weak out to the right-hand side, and still going back down the green. Club head speed 88.5 miles an hour, club path 3.1 from the inside, and the face is basically 0.7. That's why it didn't recover. It was basically just a straight push out to the right. 8mm heel, 2 mil low, so slightly on the heel stripe, but not too bad. 170 yards of carry, 33.4 yards in the air, and 47.2 degrees descent angle. Feeling is, I couldn't feel it was off the heel. I will be honest. I thought that was fairly middle, if not fractionally low. It was fractionally low, but it's the heel. I didn't really feel it. I like to know the nuance of strike. I like to feel exactly where I'm hitting it. So when it comes to a game improvement iron or something like this, I do prefer a little bit more feedback. But it's absolutely fine. It's stopping onto a green. It's stopping on the wrong part of the green, but that's because it's my fault more than anyone else's. It's just a case of it's pilot error. Well, that's a toe. I can feel the toe. Carries back up there. Go on, up you go. Get close to the gimme circle. Oh, that was close. So club head speed, 90 miles an hour, club par 3 degrees from the inside, face 1.4 degrees closed. There you go. That's the little baby drawback. 8 millimeters toe, 2 millimeters low. I could detect it was toey. Yes, didn't know how much, but I could detect it was toey. 175 yards of carry, 33 yards in the air, and 46.6 degrees descent angle. So it's not going massively high into the green. Now, I was expecting to go a little bit peak height higher than that and then descent slightly steeper, but it's doing absolutely fine. I can detect strike. It's just a little bit numb. Let's just do one more and flick over to 3DP very quickly because we don't want this video to be on too long. That's not bad. I mean, you can't complain. Go on, skip up there a bit more. Go on, get up there. Club head speed 90.9 miles an hour, club path 0.6 from the inside, face is 0.0, spin axis is very close to 0 as well. 1 millimeters toe, 5 millimeters low, so slightly low on the face. That is it, 174 yards of carry, which is pretty okay. 33 yards in the air and 47.2 degrees of descent angle. So yes, it's just seemingly not trying to peak up as much as I would like it to. But then again, the second half of the video, we'll check to see how this golf club converts dynamic loft into physical launch angle, launch factor, and see if which one works better than the other one. Right, let's go get Goliath and see how well David does. Data set now changed. I have the 3DP in my hands. I have Goliath. Top line, it's slightly thinner than that of the Cali, but not by much when it comes to the sole. It's basically very, very similar, maybe a fraction smaller, that's it. The blade lengths on the 3DP Tour is a fraction smaller, at least that's what it looks like. Down by the golf ball, again, there's nothing on this iron that shouts to me that I've got something worth 300 and whatever it is pounds in my hands, rather than whatever 500 divided by 7 is 70-ish quid. There you go. We will see. Right, same-ish sharp. No, we've got KBS Tour in that one, and we've got an NS Pro Modus in this one. There you go. Nothing in there anyway that shouts out expensive. Oh, that is a missed strike and a half. That is a missed strike and a half. That's not in the gimme circle. Wow. Okay, club head speed 91.5 miles an hour, club path 1.1 from the inside, face is effectively 0, 0.2 open. That is it. That's 13 millimeters hill, 3 mil low. Whoops, that's a miss hit. 176 yards, 33 yards in the air, and 47 degrees descent angle, and it's in the gimme zone. This golf club is hilarious. It doesn't matter where you hit it on the face, it still wants to basically do, within reason, the exact same thing. It is funny. Feeling, yes, you can definitely tell where you're hitting it on the face. 13 millimeters, I could definitely tell that. Let's go give it another go. That was really bad, but really quite good. Like that was not great either. That's low and slightly heely, but distance-wise, that's basically identical. Club head speed 91.9 miles an hour, 0.3 from the inside, 0.2, so delivery at least was really quite good. 5 millimeters heel, 7 millimeters low, so not great, but okay. 177 carry. It's going 35 yards in the air, 48 degrees descent angle. It's working really good considering that wasn't great when it comes to the strike at all. Just doing really 3DP-like. Cobra, you really need to make this whole idea cheaper. And hopefully as time's gone on, obviously the Limit 3D was the first one and they were really expensive. This is just really expensive. Hopefully in a few years they'll bring it down to a price where it'll work for everyone. It just feels really quite nice. That was absolutely buttoned. Within 3 mil, there you go. 91 miles an hour, clubhead speed, 1 from the inside, fractionally closed, little baby draw dynamic, 0 mil hill, 3 mil low. And I know from this golf club, 3 millimeters low on the face is very, very close to its fastest part, and that's about as much as you're gonna ever get out of a 3DP. It's working really 182 yards of carry, 37 yards in the air, 48 degrees of center angle. That's maxed out. You're not going to get any more than that really from a 3DP. It just feels really good. Is there a difference in feel between these two? Yes, this one feels a fraction softer. The Cali 01T is a hollow bodied design. And so yes, you're going to struggle when it comes to controlling the frequency, the sound, the resonance, the strike noise. It's going to be a little bit more aggressive, it's going to be a little bit more crisp, it's going to be a little bit more harsh. When it comes to 3DP, it is lattice work inside, it is not hollow. And so you haven't got the issue with it feeling or sounding a little bit hollow. And so it does feel a little bit softer. It does seem to want to peak up slightly higher. It does seem to want to go a little bit further. It will be interesting to see what the differences are. One last one, and then we're going to go to the 3 different swing speeds, then do all of the numbers when it comes to heat maps and see what the difference between David and Goliath really is. I mean, yeah, I'm struggling. It's just good. Clubhead speed 91.6 miles an hour, club par, face to par, very 0-0. 2 mil toe, 0 mil low, so basically the middle. It's 36 yards in the air, 48 degrees descent angle, 180 yards of carry. It seems to be wanting to go up slightly higher. It definitely seems to want to go a fraction further. Now again, there's a few shots with each, so you can't really tell. What you need to do is make sure we nominalize everything, nominalize clubhead speed, nominalize dynamic loft delivery, strike, all those different things. Let's get a proper understanding of which one wins between David and Goliath. See if there is actually a performance difference between the two, what happens when it hit in the heat maps, the 3 different swing speeds, that kind of idea, to see if there is a justifiable reason why a set costs £499 to a set which costs in the thousands and 2,000 and a half, a lot of money. Let's go see if there's a difference. All the shots now hit with the £500 Cali 01T irons up against the £2,500 Cobra 3DP Tour irons. Is there £2,000 worth of difference between the two? We'll have a look. I've got the information of the 3 different swing speeds. We'll do that one slightly after the forgiveness. I've got the information for all of the mishits up on the screen now. The one you can see here is straight from the Cali 01T. If you haven't seen these before, this is a representation as though you're looking at the face on. So the plus 22 on the left hand side you've got is the toe side of it. On the right hand side, minus 22, that is the heel. You've got high and also low. So you've got that blue line, that's turf interaction line. If you hit any ball above 5 or 6 millimeters above where you should do, you're going to be interacting with the ground first. And of course, you haven't got to worry about how efficient the face is, high on the face, when you're hitting a massive chunk. And even if you're on a tee or in the rough, if you hit high in the face, it is not good. It does not work whatsoever well from high on the face. So if you can, have a miss, hit it low, hit it toe, hit it heel, just don't hit it high. High is the worst place you can hit it. But you can move all over to 20 or so millimeters off on the toe, and you're firmly in the 6% of ball speed loss. It is quite a bit, especially compared to the Cobra 3DP coming very, very soon. But you're losing around about 6% of your ball speed. And because on a flat-faced iron, ball speed and distance are fairly correlative, you're looking at losing around about 6% of your distance as well. And of course, if you move more than 20 millimeters, you will lose more. If you go to the heel though, 20 or so millimeters off the heel, it's actually slightly better off of the heel than it is off the toe. You can see by the size of that green blob, it radiates a little bit towards the heel, and you're losing around about 3%. I wouldn't move any more than 3 or 20 millimeters or so, because you've got that red strip. If you look down the bottom left hand side on the overlay, you can see that red strip, that vertical red strip, that denotes around about 21, 22 millimeters away from the middle, which means if you hit anywhere near there, you're going to be interacting with the hosel, and no one likes hitting a shank. So if you can, 20 millimeters is your max, but from there you're losing around about 3%. And if you go low on the face, around about 15, 16 millimeters, you're losing around about 5% of your ball speed. So again, 5% or so your distance. So Cali 01T does not like being hit off the toe at all, not bad off the heel, and so from low. When it goes to the 3DP, however, it gets a little bit more complex because the Cobra 3DP, the 3D printed iron, is different to every other single iron that I've ever tested. Ever since doing the heat maps and all of the 90 or so irons that we've got on the database, the middle is always the fastest. On every single iron, if you hit the middle, or where you should hit it on the middle, it's the fastest part of the face. Until the 3DP. The 3DP, because of that 3D printed technology, it can move and change mass where other golf clubs are restricted because of its design. The 3DP is an amazing club because what you see on the screen here is a little bit of a weird mismatch, because when I did the original test, the initial test of the 3DP, put it in the heat map data, the whole heat map turned green. I'm like, what? Well, I agree, it's really ridiculously good, but this doesn't make sense. How can it be just green everywhere? And it was because of this. The middle, as I've said, normally is the fastest part of the face. 0 high, 0 toe, 0 low, 0 heel. The middle is the fastest part of the face. On the 3DP, it's different. The fastest part of the face is actually sort of 5 or so millimeters low on the face. Now, I've always been programmed to hit the middle, 0, 0. So I'm hitting shots, I'm getting the result. And however far that goes, let's say 170 yards. And of course, when you move away from the middle, you're supposed to drop speed. That's the whole idea of forgiveness. You're trying to retain as much speed as possible and as much distance. With the 3DP, as soon as I hit it low on the face, I was actually gaining more distance. And I was thinking, that doesn't make sense. What's going on? And so I checked dot placements and everything else like that. Of course, that's all okay. It's just the technology of the head. Because the center of gravity on a 3DP is so low, because that 100 grams of tungsten that they've managed to fit, because of the 3D printing inside that head, it's moved the fastest part of the face lower on the face. So what you end up getting is this kind of heat map where you have to understand that the actual middle is that square block. The dark green blob is actually 5 or so millimeters lower, and that is the fastest part of the face. So on a 3DP, if you reference the middle, the part where you should hit, the whole heat map turns green. To do it the same as everyone else and be as fair to every other iron on the database, we've kept it as the fastest part. So you can see there, the fastest part is around about sort of 4 or 5 millimeters low on the face. And if you move all the way out to the toe, you're losing around about 4%. No different to the heel, you're losing around about 4% as well. And if you go low on the face, you're losing in and around about the 3%. So better than that of the Cali 01T, no surprise there. With the exception of the heel, the Cali 01T is fractionally better off the heel. However, if we go back to how I like to look at it, it goes like that. And because of this, I am still trying to hit middle. And because I'm trying to hit middle, that is the distance I'm trying to hit. And if I hit slightly low in the face, because the original heat maps don't go plus numbers, they only work in drop off, the heat maps were getting confused because of the fact the amount of distance that I was then, say, gaining and then losing, it came up effectively as 0. So what this means is, let's do the 170 yard idea. Hit out the middle, it goes 170 yard. Hit about 5 or 6 millimeters low, it gains 2% of ball speed and distance. So what's that, 3.4 yards. And so I'm gaining 3.4 yards. So the pin's 170, I'm now hitting at 173.4 yards. If I then go all the way down to the bottom of the face, I'm then losing only 1% from the middle reference where I want to hit it. Well, that is amazing. If you go all the way to the toe, I'm still, even at 22 millimeters, all the way across to the part where we record, it's only losing 2%. And then when you go all the way to the heel, we won't go into 22 millimeters because you are going to be hitting the hosel, but you can see the point, 2%. It is by far the most forgiving iron that I've ever tested. However, to try and be as fair as possible when it comes to measuring up against every other iron, we measure the fastest part of the face. That has always been the middle until the 3DP, but to be fair, we've always recorded the heat maps on the website www.askgolfnut.com as the fastest part of the face, so it will look like the previous one. Time to see how the radar chart looks. So the radar chart is a measure of the forgiveness of an iron in different locations and also its flight differences as well. Again, all the information you're going to see here when it comes to heat maps, the radar chart, and also the self-fit tool, we'll look at this 70, 80, and 90 miles an hour in a sec, is all from my website, www.askgolfnut.com, where my website members will have access to 90 plus or so irons. We're getting the driver database bigger and bigger all the time, and no different to the irons with every single release. Well, on the screen you can see this is the Cali 01T in red and the Cobra 3DP Tour in blue. And you can see, with the exception of the heel, every part, the toe, the Cobra 3DP Tour wins. And this is in its normal heat map position, not the one that I would like to see effectively going green everywhere, because that's how I see it. But this is the one being as fair as possible to every other iron on the database. So you can see it wins clearly off of toe. It loses fractionally off of heel, but by the smallest of margins. But the Cali 01T wins if you measure it the way, yeah. And then low, 3DP wins. Forgiveness overall, the 3DP wins. When it comes to face speed, loft for loft adjusted, again, there's only 1 degree of loft difference between these two. But when you loft for loft adjust these, so they're both all the same loft, the 3DP Tour is faster off the face. It has a higher spin rate, loft for loft adjusted, and also launches the golf ball better. Whatever dynamic loft you deliver, how much does the golf club convert into physical launch angle? And again, that's because of the 100 or so grams of tungsten you've got in that iron. It just does basically everything better than that of the 01T. So how does that translate into 3 different swing speeds? I've got the information here, as you can see, straight from the self-fit tool. We've got the information at the top there set at 70 miles an hour, the angle attack at -2. The angle attack is how much you come down to the golf ball, and shaft lean also at -2, which is an effective D-loft. How much do you add or take away loft? For the gold tier members, of which the self-fit tool is, any gold tier member that wants some information, a bit more of a understanding of how they should set the sliders, depending on how they deliver, and that's a great thing with the sliders, you can set the sliders to exactly your own swing characteristics in your swing speed, in your angle attack, and in your shaft lean to get an understanding of how any of the 90 or so irons that we've got on the database, how they fly and what their gapping is, etc. And also you can compare them. So I've got the 01T in blue and I've got the 3DP in yellow. Now, this is loft adjusted. So the great thing with the self-fit tool is you have got the option, if you want to adjust the loft slightly on there. Now, of course, some golf clubs are cast and you can't do that, so it's a little bit of a pain. But the great thing with the self-fit tool is that you can do the adjustment on there to show what the differences will be in flight. So I've made them exactly the same loft. 30 degrees of loft when it comes to the static amounts as such, with -2 shaft lean, 28 degrees of loft between them. We're looking at a max carry of the 01T at 126 yards and a max carry of the 3DP at 128. So 2-yard gain. That's it. 2,500. There's £1,000 per yard for the gain of max carry. You look at the average carry. The average carry is what happens when you take a nominal miss around the face, a ½ inch or so miss around the face. How much distance are you losing in your average miss? And you go from 126 to 119. So you're losing 7 yards or so from an average miss around the face on the 01T, which is around about 21 or so feet. It's quite a bit. And you go to the difference on the 3DP is 4 yards. So nearly twice as good for £2,000, but it's still, the difference in twice as good from dispersion point of view is very, very good. You're going 2 yards higher on the peak height of the 3DP over the 01T, and you've got nearly 2.1 degrees more descent angle. So not only does it go further, it's closer to the average carry, it peak height's higher. This is at 70 miles an hour, and also descends steeper. It just wins on every single metric over the 01T. The problem with the 01T at 70 miles an hour, that even the 7-iron arguably is not functional. Going at 40 degrees, these are middle hits, remember. If you go less than 40 degrees, you are going to be lapping the gods of where the golf ball's going to stop or not. And the only problem with the fact that you're dealing with a direct-to-consumer manufacturer, commonly you don't have options only buying a 7-to pitching wedge. You are pigeonholed into a 4-to pitching wedge sale or a 5-to pitching wedge sale. If you're fortunate. For a 70 mile an hour swing speed golfer that swings like this, you're buying a good 2 golf clubs for nothing. even though they are only 500 pounds. Go to 80 miles an hour, again, everything loft for loft adjusted to make sure we get every single thing right, because you can do that on the Self-Fit tool. We are going 149 for the 01T up against 150, so a 1 yard gain for £2,000. We have still got the 7 or so yard average carry difference, no different to the 4 yards of the 3DP Tour, so it's basically within reason twice as accurate. We're looking at 27 yards in the air for the 01T at 29, again 2 yards better in the air, higher in the air than the 01T. And of course the 3DP wins again on descent angle, so it's not only just 3 yards, it is more control the other end. So we're doing 80 miles an hour now, so you can see that even 80 miles an hour, the 7.9 is now going at 45 degrees for the 01T. Plenty of descent angle and control. You go to the 5 iron though, 41.5 degrees, and I would be moving into some form of hybrid or very high lofted fairway wood by this point, because of the fact it's too much of a risk going at 41.5 degrees. You just miss hit it slightly low on the face or anything else like that, or slightly toey, you're going to lose ball speed, you're going to be losing descent angle, and you're going to be losing control going into a green. Conversely, you go to the 3DP and you've got a solid 43 degrees, even with the 5 iron. And so absolutely yes. Would I go 4 iron? No, absolutely not. But by that point, you're going to be looking at needing a 185 yard club for your hybrid anyway. Go to 90 miles an hour, again, loft for loft adjusted, everything is set to the same loft. You've got the maximum carry of the 01T going 167 yards to 167 yards. Bang on, exactly the same. So the same yards for £2,000 more for the 3DP. But looking at the difference in your average carry, again, you've got the 7 yards difference in there against the 4 yards difference. So again, you've got that consistent, better dispersion ring with the 3DP Tour. They are just more accurate because they have that much more consistent face. You do not lose as much, and especially depending on how you want to look at it. Remember, this is done the most cruel way you possibly can do it. If you do it reference how I would like to do it, the dispersion ring on these things are ridiculously tight. You're looking at 2 yards gain again on the peak height, and again you're looking at a slight win, 1.5 degrees or so. But by ons, you're looking at 90 miles an hour. You haven't got to worry about descent angle too much, because even if you go 4 iron on the 01T, you're looking at 44 degrees, absolutely fine, no problems whatsoever. So if you're looking to worry about descent angles at 90 or so miles an hour, generally speaking, with speed, you haven't got to worry about it. To conclude on the Cali 01T versus the Cobra 3DP. Now I'm going to do it how I perceive the irons. Now, looks and feel. A Cali 01T looks a really nice golf club. It is the classic player's distance, solid backed, looks like a fat blade golf club. And it's a pretty decent looking golf club. I don't mind it. And if I was to possibly have to score them personally between one and the other, I would actually score the 01T slightly better. The lattice work on the back is actually quite nice of the 3DP Tour, but it's not as nice as a pure on blade. When it comes to a blade for the 3D printed, it'll be really nice to see what Cobra bring up in the next X amount of months and years to see if they actually do move into the player's cavity and the blade side with their 3D printed technology. When it comes to feel, I would say that the 3DP wins if you're looking for softness. The Cali 01T being hollow bodied, it is a little bit louder, a little bit more of a crack explosive noise, and the 3DP Tour just feels slightly nicer. When you're looking at performance and also forgiveness, so do performance first. Performance like for like when it comes to the loft adjust, etc. Again, if you don't do the loft adjust and you keep it 1 degree stronger, the 3DP just wins out completely, not only just in distance, but it definitely wins in peak height, and also it wins in descent angle. So if you're looking at a raw performer difference, the 3DP is actually longer because I adjusted that 1 degree. When it comes to forgiveness, this is where I will reference it how I want to reference it. I want to hit the middle. The 3DP is single-handedly the most consistent golf club I have ever tested. I seriously thought about gaming these irons. Absolutely I did. And the only reason I did not was because of the lofts. The lofts are set to a player's distance. I am set in my ways to playing very, shall we say, traditionally lofted irons, 34 degree lofted 7 irons, etc. And I would have to done something fairly funky with the lofts, or play 2 of the same iron at different lofts to try and get the gappings correct. I am really looking forward to seeing what Cobra does in 2026 with their new lineup coming, and it will come with the 3D printed technology. Cobra have shown what they can do with this and the Limit 3D that come first, which was really expensive, something like £3,500 for a set of irons. Now the Cobra 3DP Tour has come out, which is less limited, it's more mainstream, and is now £2,500 for a set of irons, which are still really expensive, but £1,000 cheaper than it previously was. So you can see they're moving their way down into a little bit more of a more affordable iron set with that 3DP printed technology idea. It's just a wondrous, wondrous idea. Is the 3DP worth £2,000 more? If you have the money and you get properly fitted for them, these golf clubs could last for a very long time. The fact that you can bend them when it comes to loft and lies as well. As you grow, you can also bend them should you need to. When it comes to the shaft options, obviously with Cobra, you have far, far more choice when it comes to your custom fit options than you are going to get with O1T. The forgiveness is by far so much better than the O1Ts. It's just unimaginably better than the O1Ts. However, if you cannot justify spending that kind of money, and I know most won't, the O1Ts do offer an amazing good value for money option for the pitching wedge. I don't think you're going to find a better brand new option than really the Cali O1Ts. Shouldn't call themselves that, should they really? But you're not going to find something better than the O1Ts. They are an amazingly good value set of irons. Hope you liked the video. If you did, go and give it a big old thumbs up, hit that like button, YouTube like Zero Y. Down there is a subscribe button. It's free. It is brilliant for the channel if you could subscribe, so thank you. Next that one is a bell icon. That's a notification bell. If you click that one, that'll let you know next time I upload another video. Hope you're well. We'll see you again soon.